Michigan has a handgun law that most people never question, but when you actually look at the history behind it, it might raise some. I'm Andrew from Biggz N Blicks, and I run a federally licensed firearms business here in Michigan. And today, I want to talk about Michigan's handgun purchase permit law. If you don't have a CPL and you want to buy a handgun, you have to go to the police station first and ask permission to buy one. Then, you go to the gun store, and you still have to pass a federal background check anyway. So, the question is, why does this law exist in the first place? And when you look at the history, the answer might surprise you. The law comes from the Michigan Firearms Act that was enacted back in 1927. At the time, there were no instant background checks. So the idea was that police would review someone before they could buy a concealable firearm. But the system they created wasn't just a background check. It gave local authorities discretion over who could and couldn't get a handgun permit. The historical context that people ignore is the 1920s weren't just about crime. They were also a period of intense racial tension in many American cities. One of the most famous incidents in Michigan history was the Ocean Suite case in Detroit, which took place only 2 years prior to this law being passed. Ocean Suite was a black doctor who moved to a white neighborhood. A mob gathered outside his home. Shots were fired from inside the house. During the attack, 2 white men were shot and 1 died. Sweet and his family were charged with murder, but were ultimately acquitted. But the case sparked national conversation about something that scared many people at the time: armed minorities and self-defense. Why discretionary permit systems mattered. Laws like Michigan's permit to purchase system gave local authorities control over who could legally own a handgun. And historically, systems like that were often used to control access to firearms among minority populations. Many of these laws relied on vague requirements like good moral character, which gave officials broad power to deny permits. Fast forward to today, we live in a completely different system. Every licensed gun store in America runs a federal background check through NICS. That system instantly blocks felons, domestic abusers, and other prohibited persons, so the question becomes, what purpose does this permit step still serve? Because the background check already does the screening. And when you think about it, it actually makes the safer option harder. Ironically, this law can make it more of a hassle to buy a gun from a regulated gun dealer than to buy in certain private sales. Licensed dealers operate under strict federal rules, records, and oversight. Private sellers aren't always under the same scrutiny. So why punish the people who choose the safer, more transparent route? And what are we left with today? An outdated law with historical ties and deep-seated racial tensions, still sitting in the books nearly a century later. A law that burdens lawful buyers with extra trips, extra paperwork, and extra wait times. A law that can discourage store purchases and push some buyers toward less regulated transactions, as well as economic impact. Gun stores, especially in smaller communities, lose business when buyers opt for private sales to avoid the hassle. The bottom line, gun safety doesn't have to mean endless red tape. We can protect the public while still respecting responsible gun owners. Repealing Michigan's handgun purchase permit requirement would be a simple, modern reform that removes unnecessary bureaucracy while keeping the background checks that actually work. It's a change that people across the political spectrum should be able to support.